Hello YouTube, this is Warships Legends memes, and today we're gonna talk about destroyer gameplay without radar cruisers involved. A lot of people have been asking for this video because they think it's quite hard to play a destroyer the right way, but also because you see a lot of people in the game that are not really aware of what they are doing or how they should play the destroyer. So we will start off with a set of rules to live by when playing a destroyer, and we will keep them on screen during the video, so I can always point back to them to make sure that everything we do complies with those 3 rules. So rule number 1 is staying alive. It sounds really silly, but it's actually the most important one, because when you try to carry out rule number 2 and 3, but you are getting killed in the first 5 minutes, then the rest of your game is going to be really tough for your team. You can't spot, you can't contest any caps. So getting a cap in the first 5 minutes and dying really soon afterwards is really a bad play in my opinion. So in this order, staying alive, contesting the cap, but doesn't mean you have to take the cap in the first couple of minutes, but it also means that you have an ability to defend the cap. Just have an impact on what's going on in the cap is already quite a good play if you can spot for your team as well. So that's about the 3 most important rules. I mean, there are a lot of other smaller rules that are really important for destroyer gameplay, but we will focus on these 3 during this game. So right here we see our first enemy destroyer. We open fire right away, and that's mainly because we got backup from the Nelson, which is a teammate. He's firing high explosive right from the start, and we can do a lot of damage on the Signefni. In case you don't have that backup or you don't know what your teammates are doing, it could be wise to disengage right from the start, because rule number 1, staying alive, is really important. But in this case it was quite safe to start firing on the enemy destroyer. If you look close, you could have seen that the enemy Gnefny remained his course and speed, but on the other hand I was slowing down, turning in and out, trying to make sure the enemies couldn't hit me, because the Gnais now fired at me. Even the Gnefny himself fired at me in the first couple of seconds, but I still remained all of my health by just making sure I was really hard to hit for them. So after taking out the Gnefny, we saw the Pensacola pushing in, a really big threat for us because of its sonar. I decided to use my smoke, and by that keeping myself alive. There was a big risk of him using his sonar, so I was already backing off. You could see that I was reversing a lot, but now I can see him turning out, so I pushed in again. In the meantime, I was talking to my div mate. I was asking him to fire at the Pensacola, because he was the biggest threat, not for both of us, but he was the biggest threat for me. And a biggest threat to your destroyer in the game is always a big threat for everyone, because also when you are supporting your destroyer, you are always trying to keep your destroyer alive. Meanwhile, we got the first cap. So again, looking at those 3 rules, we stayed alive in the first couple of minutes, we contested the cap, even made the Pensacola go away by some help from our teammates. And at the meantime we are also getting out of our smoke, and we are not remaining in our smoke, because we want to spot as much as possible for our team. So now we are actually in a moment of rest in the game. I mean, the biggest threats around us have gone. I've already gone, so to say. But what do we do next? You can see on the minimap that in the top right part of the map, you can see a lot of enemy ships over there, which are not spotted at the moment. So we could go to that area, try spotting the enemy, but we could also go to the decap and try to flip that one. Because by flipping the D cap, we are having 3 caps at that moment, and the enemy has got no one right now. You can see they are capping C, but that's not really a big threat because a lot of ships of our own team that are able to keep resetting them over and over again. So we are heading into D. We've already speed up, used our engine boost to get in position as quick as possible, and then we can see this New Mexico. And this New Mexico is all alone. We can see that the Akatsuki of the enemy team, the other destroyer, was last seen in the bottom left corner. He's actually spotted right now. So he's not a threat for us at this moment. We can fully focus on this New Mexico and taking the cap. You can see he's actually pushing to D. So when I would just try to take the cap, he would contest it, and eventually I would be pushed out of the cap. So here, what I'm gonna do here is actually take a huge risk. I'm gonna rush him, which is not advisable. You can see it every game happening. A lot of destroyer players are just rushing into enemy battleships and get themselves deleted right away. But sometimes you have to take a risk to actually win the game. And that's what I'm doing right here. I'm not rushing because I just want the death strike, but I'm actually rushing because a lot of my teammates are dying at the moment, and we need to take this cap as quickly as possible. And the only way I could do that is by just rushing in and flipping the game, turning the tide, so to say. So you can see this New Mexico is in a lot of trouble. He's taking out quite easily. We remained 2/3 of our health, and we look at the top part of the screen, and we can see that there are only 3 blue ships left compared to 5 ships of the enemy team. When we take a look at the minimap, we can see that 4 of those enemy ships are in the top right corner, and their Akatsuki is in the left part of the game. Our Nelson, actually my division mate, is protecting C at the moment. He's keeping the enemies off as long as possible. You can also see that he has got a lot of health left. The Nelson, really tanky ship. So I knew he would be actually buying a lot of time by staying in that position. So that's also what I was asking him to do. I said, just stay in your position as long as possible. Keep him off as long as you can, because we have the points advantage. And that's actually the only way I could see us winning this game. My indicator, I'm sorry, my indicator is pointing towards B, so I knew that Akatsuki of the enemy team was pushing into B. At least that would be a logical move of him to do. And in B we also have our own ship, the Bayern. So at this point he is contesting B, so he just entered the area in B. And I knew we had the advantage on guns compared to the Akatsuki, and that's also the reason why I'm pushing in here at the moment. He's still at some great distance, but this is also what I mean with contesting the cap. It's not just taking the caps; it's also making sure the enemy has a really hard time of capturing them. The Bayern does a really good job. He's asking for help, which I can really understand. And I could have done a couple of things right here. I could have moved towards the Bayern to give him will to rebuild, but if he just takes 2 or 3 torpedoes at once, he will be dead anyway. So that was not the most important thing to do. The most important thing for me was keeping B, keeping the caps, and playing the long game, so to say, against the other 4 ships, which are in the top part of the screen. He's still contesting, so he's not really pushing out. I decided to use my torps and just guess his position at this moment. So here you can see that our Bayern died at this moment. We are taking 1 kill back by our by our div-mate, and we are ahead of points. My div-mate said somewhere around here that he wasn't going to survive the battle for long. So when he dies, they will get a lot of points. So we lose some points. The Akatsuki is taking A, and I was thinking about turning out to the left here and just sailing away and guessing that that would be enough to win the game. But actually, I thought, okay, they kill the Nelson, they take C, they take A, so they equal on caps, and after that I can't keep them out of B and D, and we still have 4 minutes left. So yes, number one is staying alive, but I really have to take this gamble because otherwise we would still lose some points. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm trying to reset the Akatsuki in the A cap and at the same time taking as little risk as possible. The only way to do it that is by turning out as soon as I'm spotted, because when I'm sailing broadside to the other 3 ships, I will just get a lot of damage. I did some zoning torps, and there I immediately start firing at the Akatsuki. I really wanted to kill that one because that way there's an even bigger chance of winning on points. So I'm sailing away to make sure I'm not easy to hit for the other 3 ships. But I knew I wanted to spot Akatsuki, so I'm turning to the right and hoping to spot him again, which actually worked out. I started firing. I hope to take him out as soon as possible. And I see the shells coming in from the other ships, and I'm still changing course and speed all the time to keep those shots missing me as much as possible. It was quite big for the game. I was able to take out the Akatsuki, and that way we have got a huge point advantage of almost 200 points. We got 1 cap more. Of course, they are taking C, but that would only equal us on points, and they would need to also take B or D or both of them to get equal on points. So you see my indicator right now. It's not pointing towards the caps B or D, but it's actually pointing behind me. So I decided to just do some zoning torps and see if I got lucky there. You can also see me sailing away. I was deliberately not turning around because I haven't got a clue where the enemy ships are at the moment, and I have to create a really large distance to make sure they don't catch me closer than what I was thinking. So here you can see he's at 6.4 kilometers, and I'm pretty sure that he is not going to be a problem anymore. We're still winning on points, and we actually managed to get the Kraken right here. So you already feel it coming a little bit. We had this is the situation when when my div mate died, that it was 1 against 4, and this is actually going to be a solo warrior. I will actually skip some time. There's not much happening in the last couple of seconds, so to say. I launched some torps into D because I knew they were capturing, or actually capping B. They already got the cap, a few seconds left, and I just tried to get the 6th kill of the game, which is not going to work out in the end. So I hit a couple of torps, got a very high cal, and was really thrilled and curious about the XP, which in the end wasn't actually that much. Just wanted to add one more thing because I mean everybody makes fuck ups once in a while. That's 100% including me. But I think when you keep thinking about these 3 things during your destroyer gameplay, staying alive, contesting the cap, and try to spot for your team, just has to be possible to get some really nice games. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers.